Hello, welcome back. All right, our question this time is a tough one. Why does God allow evil? Well, before we answer that, I guess whatever you believe, you're going to have to answer the same question. Why does some other belief allow evil? So, for example, if someone believed that the universe was always there and the universe has no intelligence, then why did it allow evil? In the Christian belief of God, there is an answer, and we are going to answer that in the next few minutes here. But I do want to go back and look at ancient Greek belief of multiple gods. So even back then, Socrates was starting to ask some serious questions. And one of them was, well, if a God is all powerful and all knowing and doesn't have a beginning or end, then how can there be multiple gods? Because eventually one would have to be first. And so he was starting to see holes in the belief of polytheism at that point in time. And then over the next several hundred years, the idea of multiple gods started falling apart, and the common person starting to see through it. If you have an all-powerful and all-knowing God, then there can only be one. So, how does that help us answer this question? Why does God allow evil? Well, one thing it helps us with is that evil is much lower than God. So the goodness of God is much more powerful than evil. And we'll see that in a few minutes here. But a lot of people worry about all the evil in the world. Well, we do have to ask, do we believe there's evil in the world? And the answer is definitely yes. And if someone doesn't believe that, you just have to take a look around and see on the regular media news, you can just see all kinds of violence without reason. I mean, even when you see someone attack someone who's innocent for no reason whatsoever, I mean, there's really no other way to explain it except there is evil. If something ever happened to someone in your family, that someone did something wrong against them or against you, then all of a sudden you'll realize that there is evil and there is wrong in the world. And how do we explain it is the question here. So here's the Christian belief, and it does make sense, and then you can ask it about other religions as well. So God is all powerful, all knowing, and he has the ability to create. And so he creates the universe, which is a created entity. He's more than the universe. So he just creates the universe, and within that he creates other beings or other creatures, other materials. So if we start with, we have rocks, and then we have plant life, we have fish and other things, and then he gets to a decision where, okay, should I make intelligent life? And so up to this point, there is no evil because there's no intelligent life yet. So you can see that here's God, and then you have the universe, and then you even have created things in it, and evil does not exist yet. So what's the one thing about evil that needs to exist first in order for there to be evil? And the answer is there has to be intelligent life with free will. If God decided that he wanted to make a bunch of robots that were intelligent but had no ability to make decisions on their own, then yeah, there might be some intelligence, but there wouldn't be any evil yet. But then you would argue, well, then they're kind of like slaves too, because they don't have any choice and they're being told what to do. Now, when we look at God created beings that are intelligent, by giving us free will, what does that really mean? It really means that we can decide on our own, follow what God says and all the good things that he says, or we can choose on our own and do things without God. And so in Christian terminology, that would be called sin. If we go against God and on our own pride, we decide what to do outside of God then that can lead us into sin, and then sin leads to evil. So when we believe in God, He tells us all the good things and right things to do. So if we follow God, there would never be any evil in the world. So if anybody says that God invented evil, that would be wrong too, because He is all good, and if we do what He said we should do, we would always be good and never sin and never turn to evil. So God didn't create evil, but He allowed free will. And then one of those possibilities of free will is that we can turn away from God and choose things that are bad for us, hurt other people, and that's what we call evil. So why does He allow it? Basically, it's to allow free will. And then we have a choice. Now there's a big benefit of free will too, is that, hey, we are living beings, and it's an honor or a blessing to really have the ability to think and choose and make choices in our lives. Some really beautiful things that we can choose for good and love other people, do good for other people. That's something that no other being can do. You know, we can choose, and we're in the world, and we can work and create things and do things and help other people. So it's really a good thing that we have the ability to have free will. And one of those choices that we have is to follow God. And if we follow God, we can benefit and do good things. Now, getting back to the point where some people feel overwhelmed, that they think evil and goodness are always here, like equal, or sometimes evil is higher. But that's not it at all. It's more like this. This is good and this is evil here. And what happens is a lot of people will get caught up today. If you look at some news programs, every single night there's something about violence and evil and killing or murders every single night. So if someone watches that all the time, eventually they can believe that, yes, evil is up here and good is here. But really, if you just, in your ordinary life, how many times does something evil happen, and how many times something good happen, or just what we consider normal? Normal life is usually really good. So goodness is much higher than evil. And even in the world, I think there's more good than evil. I think most people want to do good. They want to help people, help their families. Being open to God would be good too. In the whole scheme of things, God created everything. And then you have the universe, and then you have created beings, and within some created beings, they can choose evil. So evil is really small, and then all we have to do is, if we ever encounter evil, we can always call upon God for help. And so He is much more higher than evil, so always call upon God for help. And so why does He allow it? Free will. And we will get to in the future when it comes to how He's going to face sin and help repair sin. We can see how God can allow evil and then later bring good out of it. So He's the only one. He can take something evil and still bring good out of it, which sometimes aggravates the devil because he wants things to always stay bad. But God can bring goodness out of things that we're not even aware can happen. And so that just shows that He's always more powerful than evil, that no matter what evil comes along, God can keep renewing and bringing good things into the world. So I know that's a really difficult question, and it may not make you feel any better, because there is evil in the world, and it does have consequences. It does hurt us a lot at times. And so we're not trying to explain that God makes every single thing feel good, but we're just explaining why God allows evil, and then how the Christian belief can explain it, where some others may not be able to.